It's 2007. Harry Potter has finally defeated Voldemort, Steve Jobs has revolutionized curvy rectangles, and Spider-Man became the ambassador for edgelords everywhere. Peter Parker's newfound calling would pale in comparison to the launch of Halo 3, however, which would end up shattering the sales records of any piece of media and leaving Spider-Man 3 in the dust.
If the company's predictions are right, its first-day sales could outdo not only the final Harry Potter book, but the debut of Spider-Man 3, which rang in at $150 million in its opening weekend.
Millions of gamers lined up for the release of the final game in the Halo trilogy, in anticipation of
finishing this fight.
That's right, Master Chief. And when players were finally able to get their hands on Halo 3, there were a ton of groundbreaking additions to the game. Honestly, I could go on and on about all of the groundbreaking things that Bungie did to revolutionize gaming forever, but I feel like both the Actman and Nikki Jakey did a pretty darn good job of capturing it in their video essays. Instead, I'm going to tell you a story about how millions of Halo fans became obsessed over the monumental in-game cosmetic known as Recon armor. In the first Halo, there were no armor options, and the only thing that you could change was the color. In the second installment, Bungie expanded this slightly by adding more colors, an emblem, and for the first time, you could also choose to play as a... All of these customization options would return in Halo 3, alongside several other unlockable armor sets. Players were now able to personalize their Spartan or Elite and show off their looks in multiplayer, but almost all of them were locked, and there weren't any clear directions on how to obtain them. When I entered matchmaking, there were a whole bunch of cool looking Spartans and Elites. I remember seeing someone with a katana on their back for the first time and being like, "What? What the fuck?" I absolutely needed to get my hands on one of those, so naturally, I busted out my mom's credit card, put in those digits, and bought the katana on the Xbox Live Marketplace. Wait, do I still have Skype installed?
Hey, this is 2007 calling to remind you that microtransactions don't exist yet. To get the katana, you need to get 1000 gamerscore in Halo 3.
Oh, well, that's gonna be tough.
While I have you here, how's the future?
Let's just say the latest season of The Apprentice got pretty real.
Nice, I love The Apprentice.
Oh boy. To complete every achievement in Halo 3, I'd have to beat the campaign on Legendary, find each skull and terminal, enable and beat the point spread for each mission, rank up in the multiplayer mode, and complete various other achievements as well. Of those various achievements, there were a few standout ones that seemed next to impossible.
That's impossible!
I found a few skulls naturally while playing through the campaign, but several were still missing, and no skull was getting between me and that katana, so I leaned on the community and looked up the rest on YouTube. Fortunately, the theater mode that Halo 3 shipped with made it easy for the community to locate most of the skulls, and almost all of them had been found within a couple of days. That being said, there was one skull that no one could seem to find. This was the I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull, a silver skull that enhances the dialogue of enemies in the campaign. Bungie confirmed that this skull would be incredibly difficult to locate and that it would unlock the Hayabusa armor. If you thought I had been excited about the katana before, this armor made you look like a friggin' ninja. It wasn't until a hacker looked through the code that the skull would be discovered. This was still only a few days after the game had been released, and in hindsight, a bit of a disappointment given how well hidden it was. It turns out that the skull could be found in the final portion of the Covenant, and for the skull to appear, you would need to jump through the Halo Ring holograms in a specific order. At first, I remember this being a super long number that had like 24 different jump patterns, but it would later be discovered that it was only 7 jumps, in the order 4, 6, 5, 4, 5, 3, 4. Every day, I kept checking the forums, until eventually I stumbled across this information. As soon as I did, I loaded up the campaign again, rushed through the level, and jumped through those rings. I have to tell you, this was a pretty cool moment, and it felt great to put on Hayabusa for the first time. However, that feeling wouldn't last that long, as everyone and their mother would be wearing this armor in matchmaking for the foreseeable future. Hayabusa quickly became known as a meme, and if you wore it, you were probably a 12-year-old squeaker. I recently stumbled across this YouTube video by Martin O'Donnell that explained how the community was meant to find this skull without the help of the hackers.
Each Halo hologram emits a unique tone, representing the 7 unique Halo installations in the galaxy, which is noticeable when playing the level. A complete scale has 8 notes, traditionally starting on the tonic and stopping on the tonic an octave away. The Alpha Halo hologram is not... It's the only 7-note phrase of the Alpha Halo melody that can be successfully played on the rings. Starting and stopping on the tonic/alpha is also nice. Also, the Alpha Halo ring is the start and end of the trilogy.
The next achievement on my radar was Mongoose Mowdown. To unlock it, you would need to splatter someone in the newly added passenger vehicle in a ranked free-for-all playlist. This was pretty challenging because the mongoose could only run someone over at full speed, and even then sometimes it just didn't get the job done. The other issue is that this vehicle was only on 2 of the maps in the Lone Wolves rotation, High Ground and Isolation. If you were lucky, you would be the only one in the lobby going for this achievement. Otherwise, it would be a race to see who could get to the mongoose first. It sure took a lot of inting, but after many last place finishes, I finally mowed someone down. Next on the list was the 2-for-1 achievement. To complete this, you need to fire the newly added Spartan laser into a crowd and kill 2 other players in a ranked free-for-all playlist. This took an absurd amount of luck and patience to obtain legitimately. So most players would opt to organize the lobby so that everyone could take turns lining each other up. I, of course, being the entirely honorable person that I am, would never take part in such a dishonest event.
You sit on a throne of lies.
The very last achievement standing between me and that katana was overkill. To obtain this, I'd have to kill 4 enemies back to back within 4 seconds of one another in a ranked free-for-all playlist. My friends always thought it was odd that I had so much trouble getting this one, but the issue was that I had climbed high up the ranks in Lone Wolves, which was the only ranked free-for-all playlist. I played Lone Wolves day after day, week after week, month after month, until eventually I managed to get this in Crazy King on Snowbound. I'll never forget it, because I literally threw 2 grenades into the hill and got an overkill. Like, it wasn't even a big deal. No wonder my friends thought I was an amateur. I had finally unlocked the katana, and I was ever so stoked. Even if it was just cosmetic, and you couldn't actually slice anyone up with it. And that was it. It took a while, but I had finally unlocked every piece of armor in the game. A new addition to Halo 3 was the ability to add in-game screenshots to your file share. After you found a lobby of people to play with, there was a bit of time before the game would start that you could use to check out the files everyone was sharing. In one of my games, I noticed that there was a screenshot of a Spartan with their head on fire in an armor set that I was not really familiar with. We would later learn that this armor was called Recon. The flaming head was only something you could receive if you worked for Bungie, but the Recon armor was something that some other players seemed to have as well. Rumors started spreading that Recon was something that you could obtain within the game, but nobody was really quite sure what you had to do to receive it. On October 17th, 2007, a player by the name of ZB Shogun uploaded a video to YouTube named Halo 3 Traffic Cone Ownage. In a game of Team Snipers, he shot the fusion coils next to Camo on the pit, and one of the pylons came off the explosion and splattered him, resulting in a suicide. No one had seen a cone cause so much carnage before, and the video instantly went viral. The film was added to Bungie Favorites, a file share that any player could access if they were online, and ZB Shogun was awarded with Recon armor. The whole community took notice and wanted to know how they could get their hands on such an exclusive armor. Over the next few months, more players started to receive this when their files were added to Bungie Favorites, and it seemed as though the only way to get the armor was to impress Bungie in some way. But unless you were the first person to kill yourself with a cone, or just a regular old sniper rifle, it was going to be tough to find a way to do something impressive enough to be gifted Recon from the game's developers. But that just made it all so much more enticing. This armor was so rare that if a player had it, they were treated like a total rock star. As time passed, Bungie provided opportunities for players to obtain the armor set in different contests and weekend playlists. I, like many, tried to do something incredible enough to net me Recon armor. I was even featured on the Bungie blog. Twice, but Bungie wouldn't answer my call. Funnily enough, 2 of my closest friends would end up getting it almost accidentally. One through a screenshot contest, and the other in the Bungie Day playlist. They still tease me about it to this day. In September of 2008, a year after Halo 3 had launched, Bungie revealed Title Update 2. This update launched alongside the legendary map pack and added new achievements to the game. This was exciting news for many players, as it meant that you could obtain the katana without completing every single achievement. Interestingly, there were some achievements in this list that didn't provide any gamer score at all. These went by the name of Vidmaster, and no one was really quite sure what they did. The first 3 Vidmasters that we found out about were Light Switch, 7-on-7, and Annual. Light Switch was added in part to show off the new ranking system in Halo 3, which was aimed at the more casual player. With Title Update 2, they added a rank that was entirely experience-based, so that to progress, you didn't need to play any ranked at all. To unlock Light Switch, players would need to get 50 experience in the new system, which only took 50 wins. The 7-on-7 achievement was another achievement that didn't take too much effort. You just have to remember to log in on the 7th of the month and play in a playlist where you had exactly 7 experience. To make things easy, Bungie added a new playlist every month that you could play in only on the 7th day. The previous Vidmasters may have been a cakewalk, but Annual was no joke. This challenge required players to cooperatively complete the final campaign mission on Legendary with the Iron Skull on, and all 4 players would need to finish the level in a ghost. Traditionally, if a player dies in campaign co-op, they can respawn next to a teammate when they are out of combat. The Iron Skull changes things, so that if one player dies, all players are reset to the previous checkpoint. Depending on the group, this could take hours to complete, and with nothing revealed about what this achievement was even good for, many players threw in the towel before even getting started. The achievement specifically said that you had to complete it after September 25th, 2008. So naturally, most people waited. Not me though. My friends and I ran it as soon as it showed up on the list and accidentally became the very first people in the world to unlock annual.
Put that in the video and put the date. We got this achievement 2 days before it was supposed to happen, and on the first day it came out.
Alongside all of these updates, Bungie had also teased a new project that they had been working on. All we knew at the time was that it was something related to Halo 3, and it appeared to feature Orbital Drop Troopers, otherwise known as ODST. A couple of weeks later, Bungie would release a full trailer for their new game, Halo 3 Recon. It was around this time that a couple of my friends were asked by Bungie if they could use their screenshots for a special project. They didn't say much, but they did specify that they wanted screenshots that featured Recon. The game was named Recon, Bungie wanted screenshots that featured Recon, one of the characters in the new game was wearing Recon. It seemed like all roads were leading to Recon. Players continued to speculate, and many rumors would spread, until Bungie finally revealed the road to Recon. The Vidmaster challenges that were previously added would be joined by 4 new Vidmaster achievements that would launch alongside Halo 3 ODST and the secondary Mythic Map Pack. When you purchased Halo 3 ODST, you also received a Halo 3 multiplayer disc that included all of the multiplayer maps. It turns out that Bungie had been searching for a screenshot to put on the second disc, and eventually, they decided on this one by Ryan14. The Road to Recon featured 7 Vidmaster achievements in total, the 3 that we already knew about, as well as Brainpan, Classic, Deja Vu, and Endure. The first Mythic Map Pack would be released in early 2009, alongside Halo Wars, and would feature 3 new maps. For the first time, Bungie added hidden skulls to multiplayer maps. The skulls on Assembly and Orbital took a bit of time to find, but weren't as challenging as they had been to locate in the campaign. The one on Sandbox was a bit more challenging, however, as you would need to exit the main area of the map into a location where Guardians would constantly shoot at you until you were dead. Fortunately, one player had spent the time to make a tunnel all the way to the skull so that others could download the map and obtain the skull quite easily. The rest of the Vidmaster challenges were all obtainable in Halo 3 ODST, and we didn't learn too much about those until the game was released. The hype train was full steam ahead. Not only was I excited about Halo 3 ODST, but I was fully dedicated to completing the rest of the Vidmaster achievements as soon as the game was released. On September 22nd, 2009, just shy of Halo 3's 2-year anniversary, ODST launched. I set a goal to complete the campaign on Heroic first, before tackling the remaining Vidmasters, and I'm glad I did, as the Halo 3 ODST campaign would end up being one of my favorites in the entire franchise. Before the day was over, I'd end up beating the campaign, so I jumped back onto Halo 3 to discover the remaining skulls in the Mythic maps. With Brainpan complete, there were 3 challenges left to tackle. Classic required you to complete any campaign level on Legendary without firing a single shot or throwing a grenade. This one may sound tough, but players quickly discovered that you could speed through Uplift Reserve and a Ghost without too much trouble. It might take a couple of tries, but once you know the layout of the level, it's pretty straightforward. Next up on the list was Deja Vu. A throwback to the Vidmaster Annual in Halo 3, you would need to complete the last level in 4-player co-op with the Iron Skull on once again. However, this time instead of having to finish all in Ghosts, you would be restricted from all vehicles, except for Mongeese. Similar to the previous challenge, Bungie added a secret area that would only appear on Legendary. This one provided you with 2 Mongeese and rocket launchers with unlimited ammo. This was another incredibly difficult Vidmaster, but with the right team and a few hours to spare, my friends and I got through it without too much trouble. There was only one Vidmaster left standing between me and my new set of armor, and that was Endure. This achievement was aptly named, as we endured a lot of pain and suffering to get through this one. In a 4-player co-op, you would need to pass the 4th set of Firefight on Heroic difficulty. At first glance, I thought this was going to be the easiest of the Vidmasters in ODST, but it turns out Firefight is pretty hard. My friends and I got close to completing this several times on multiple different maps, but would always fall short. There was a certain point where I'd become convinced that my friend that had already received Recon was intentionally sabotaging us just so that we wouldn't get the armor. Finally though, 3 days after release, we managed to complete the challenge. It would take countless efforts over 3 days, but we finally managed to complete Endure and the road to Recon. And all that was left was heading over to Bungie.net so that I could claim my new armor. Over the next 7 days, 60,000 Halo players would unlock the Recon armor. Bungie would eventually leave Microsoft and pass off the reins to 343 Industries. This meant that Bungie would retire their control over the Halo franchise, and 343 was forced to provide Recon to all players. What had once been an exclusive and extremely rare accomplishment in gaming was now available to everyone. Thanks everyone so much for watching until the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. To me, this was an absolutely monumental piece of gaming history, and I thought that others would want to relive it or learn about it for the first time. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please do subscribe, as the more subscribers that I get, the more likely it is that I'll make more content in the future. Thanks again everyone, and I'll see you next time.